All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Pardon Board is reconvening at State Police Barracks. Is that where we're at?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a different look, different setup. It is Monday, June 5th, 2023. It's 9:57 a.m. Good morning. With the Barracks staff, please introduce yourself for the record.
Good morning. Ronald W Washington.
Staff.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Captain Patrick Washington.
All right. And
Lisa Prejean, classification.
okay, that's everybody.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, so Mr. Ronald Washington, now it's your turn. Tell us your name and DOC number, please, sir.
Hey, good morning, ma'am. My name is Ronald Washington, DOC number 590136.
All right, Mr. Washington, you're here before the pardon board this morning. You're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in St. Tammany Parish, 22nd JVC, for 2 counts of armed robbery. You were sentenced in September of 2011. You received a 20-year sentence on each count, and those sentences are running concurrently. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Roche, but before I turn it over to him, I want to acknowledge we have some guests that have joined us. We have your mother, Miss Janetta Washington, brother Harry Sims, sister Tina Washington, brother Matthew Washington, another brother Leroy Washington, and fiance Amanda Thacker. And we'll be hearing from Harry, Tina, and your mother at the appropriate time. Also joining us in opposition is Mr. Clark from the DA's office in St. Tammany. He will be speaking at the appropriate time as well. Before we wrap it up, Ronald will allow you to make a statement before we vote. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So, as I mentioned, your case has been assigned to Mr. Roche. Would you answer his questions?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, fellow board members, we have Ronald W Washington, DOC number 590136. Mr. Washington is here this morning seeking a recommendation for a parole eligibility date. Am I correct, Mr. Washington?
Yes, sir.
And he was sentenced under state statute without parole eligibility. He is now serving a 20-year flat sentence for 2 counts of armed robbery. Mr. Washington pled guilty on September 16, 2011, as charged with 2 counts of armed robbery only 2 months after his arrest. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you pled guilty. You knew you were responsible for the crime, and you just pled guilty and started serving your time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I take full responsibility.
Okay. He received a 20-year sentence for both counts of armed robbery, and those 2 sentences were running concurrently. When he was arrested on July 9, 2011, he had 2 female co-defendants. The first co-defendant was Brooke James, who pled guilty to 2 counts of second-degree robbery and was sentenced to 20 years at DOC. Ms. Brooks' sentence was suspended, placed on 5 years active supervised probation, and that probation was terminated on May 29, 2015, some 8 years ago, satisfactory. The other co-defendant, Michelle Johnson, pled guilty as charged to 2 counts of armed robbery, was sentenced to 25 years at DOC. Ms. Johnson is still incarcerated with a good time release date of July 14, 2035. Mr. Washington is currently 36 years old At the time of the robbery, he was 24. As of July 7th, 2023, he would have been incarcerated for 12 years. Mr. Washington, tell the panel exactly what happened on July 9th, 2011. Let's start with your co-defendants getting a manicure that they knew they didn't have the money to pay for. Tell us what happened.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. When we left the house that morning, it was Brooke's birthday was the next day. And we was going to Bourbon Street. But before we went to Bourbon Street, we stopped at the nail salon where Michelle and Brooke was getting their nails done. I was gonna pay. I had a card that I used a debit card. So they text my phone when it was complete to come in and pay for it. I went in to pay for it. I pulled my wallet out. I didn't have my card with me. So by me not having my card with me, I told my victims I would go to Picayune and pick up the money, pick up the card and get the money, and I'll come right back. But it didn't go that way. I had it to where they asked me to leave my license, and I told them no. And they said, "Well, you need to leave your license with me." So I said, "Well, look, I'm just gonna go." And they said, "Sir, we can't let you leave." And I got upset. I'm not proud of it, and I take full responsibility. I was on mind altering substances at the time. And, I was drinking, and I was taking Xanaxes. And when I told him you can't let me leave, that's when I pulled a gun out on him. Pulled a gun out, and I told them to get me there.
So Washington, this is Washington. Stop. Why did you have a gun person?
So ever since 2005, I always kept a gun on my person because somebody I've known for years since we were kids came behind me with a crowbar and hit me in the head with a crowbar, and that's what happened to my eye. And after that, I always kept a gun on me.
Did you have a roommate?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, go ahead.
But when after so I took their money. I took my victim's money, and we left, and we got caught immediately afterwards.
Okay. That's pretty much the way it was presented to me in my report. Mr. Washington.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Application statement to question 13. You say, and I quote, "I know what I did was wrong, but while I did not physically harm anyone." Is that true?
Okay, can you repeat that, sir?
You said, "I know what I did was wrong, but while I did not physically harm anyone." Is that true?
I physically harmed a lot of people by just the crime that I committed, because I mean that leaves, that
So Washington, let's get down to it. Did you hit the victim over the head with the gun?
Yes, sir.
Victim incurred $3,000 worth of medical bills for the damage that you did when you hit him across the head, not once, but twice with a gun. Why would you say you didn't cause anybody physical harm?
If I could be just honest with you today,
Please.
I was on opioids, and I was taking Xanaxes on a regular basis. every day, and I'm not using that as an excuse. So I'm hoping that you don't get me wrong on that.
I'm not.
All right, but I only remember bits and pieces of the situation that what happened. So at the time, I did not believe that I hit him, my victim, Mr. Jimmy. I didn't believe that I hit him with a gun. But when he said it later on down the road, stuff started to come back to you. You start to remember bits and pieces of what happened later on in life. And stuff just started to come back, and I know that he wouldn't lie about that. And I apologize to all parties involved about, for my actions.
Ronald, I appreciate your honesty. This is the day that you need to be honest, and I appreciate you being straightforward and answering my question.
Yes, sir.
Opposition in this case comes from the 22nd JDC District Attorney's Office, and a representative from that office will be making a presentation a little bit later in this hearing. You also have opposition from the St. Tammany Sheriff's Office, and both victims of the old robbery are adamantly opposed. Criminal history, Mr. Washington only has 2 arrests. The first arrest was in Picayune, Mississippi, in 2009 for civil assault, and he was found not guilty, and the charges were dismissed. And this is the only other arrest on his record. Let's talk about alcohol and drugs. When did you start using drugs, Mr. Washington?
I started using drugs in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina. When I got hit over the head with a crowbar, they prescribed me Loratabs. Before
How old were you?
I was 17.
Okay, and after Katrina, you got assaulted by someone who hit you across the head?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
I was right after Hurricane Katrina. I was sitting down in our neighborhood, Picayune, Mississippi, and with me and a couple of the fellas who were playing spades. And a guy came over that I've been knowing. His name is Neville Thomas. He came over, and we talked for a little while. He left. We had some words with each other. He left and came back and came behind the building and hit me in the head with a crowbar. I had to go to the hospital. I had to be rushed to the hospital. Once I rushed, it was the day after Katrina. So the line was very long at the hospital. So they pulled me in immediately, and they put me on the stretcher and airlifted me to Alabama because I was losing so much blood. And they prescribed me Loratabs, and that's when I first started to use drugs and narcotics. But before, prior to then, I never used any drugs.
That was 7 years. That was 7 years before the robbery. How long did you stay on Loratabs legitimately?
It advanced. I went from Loratabs. I started drinking alcohol. I started using Xanaxes, and I was taking about 10 Xanaxes a day. And I'm thankful to be able to even tell the story because of the amount of drugs I was using.
Have you ever had substance abuse treatment since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've taken AA in it.
And what else?
I've taken a program in It's a pre-release covers somewhat of that as well.
Have you taken living in
Substance.
balance?
That's substance.
Have you taken living in balance?
No, sir.
Celebrate recovery.
Celebrate recovery. Yes, sir.
You've taken celebrate recovery.
Yes, sir.
And what did you get out of substance abuse? What did you get out of celebrate recovery?
I've learned a lot, but one of the main things that I've learned was the triggers. They tell us that we have triggers dealing with our addiction, and our addiction, by having our addiction like that, like certain things that we go through in life, we have to be careful about. We have to be careful about, because we can fall right back into that same slump that we were once in. You know, they say once you're an addict, you're always an addict.
And that's what I was gonna ask. Are you a drug addict?
Yes, sir. I believe.
And what is your ongoing sobriety plan to stay away from drugs and alcohol?
I had my sister looked up some things for me, some NA classes, NA and AA classes, where like if you were to grant me today, that I would go to Lafayette, Sunset Lafayette, and they have a lot of NA AA classes up there in certain different places. So I would like to continue going on with substance abuse and doing different programs.
In the 12 years of your incarceration, Mr. Washington, think back. Have you ever received a write-up for incarceration or oh, I'm so sorry. Not that word mixed up. Have you ever received a write-up for intoxication or for contraband for having illegal drugs?
Yes, sir.
When?
Yes, sir. I was in a dog program in 2000. I want to say this was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. The guy on the yard, on the dog yard in the dog program with me, he had what you call prison name Mojo.
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 One.
And so when the guards came out and he was calling his name, it's a guy named Jarrell Harold. And when they called his name, he was out in the yard, so I went to go get him for the guards. So when I went to go get him, he passed the stuff off to me. And immediately when he put it in my hand, I immediately dropped it. Now the lieutenant over there, I want to say his name was Lieutenant Miller. He said, "Look, I seen what happened. I said, I know you didn't have anything to do with it." He said, "But I have to lock you up. I have to lock you up in the blocks." He said, "Because it touched your hand. So because it touched my hand," he said, but I'm gonna put the write-up in your favor. That way, once you go, this happened on a Sunday."
Mr. Washington.
Yes, sir.
I understand that situation. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In the 12 years of incarceration, have you ever used illegal drugs or alcohol?
No, sir. No, sir, I have never. Because it took away so many years of my life, and I hurt so many people, and I'm not able to be there for my family like I want to. And I've hurt people from doing drugs and alcohol, and I don't want to ever put anybody through what I put people through.
Now, Mr. Washington, at the time of your arrest, you were addicted to prescription drugs. How did you manage to wean yourself off of the drugs that you were on without being, having a organized drug program.
So, sir, to be honest with you, when I got in when I went into Covington and St. Tammany Parish, I didn't know what was wrong with me. My body wasn't functioning. I didn't know what was wrong. I was making sick calls, and they telling me, "Oh, you good? Nothing wrong with you." Like I felt stuff crawling through my skin, and I was going through the process of not having. I was going through withdrawal, yes, sir. And I never knew what was wrong with me. It was only until I was talking to another gentleman that been through the same thing that he told me, he used the word dope sick. He said that you're dope sick. That's what you're going through. Your body not able to function without these drugs. But I just exercise. That's all. I try to always burn the sweat, but I vow never to touch touch that again, like any kind of mind altering substance.
Let's go to your annual report. I just want to put some information. You're currently 36 years old. You've had 12 write-ups in the 12 years of incarceration, but all 12 of those write-ups were in the first 3 years of your incarceration. You minimum custody, you have a low risk assessment, you have a GED program, you completed GED program, and just call off some of the programs that you've completed.
I have pre-release. I have AANA, cage rage and anger management. I have life prep, life skills, life prep, substance abuse.
Domestic violence and abuse awareness program.
Yes, sir.
And 12-step program.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your transition plan.
Transitional analysis, you said?
No, your transition plan. Where do you plan to live and where do you plan to work?
Well, I plan on living in Sunset, Lafayette with my sister, Tina Washington. I have a guy that he owned a bricklaying company, and I used to do labor work for bricklayers. And he's willing to teach me also how to lay bricks.
Your institutional record is very good. You have all good comments from your work supervisors and security supervisor, and very good remarks from your classification officer. Captain Washington, would you like to make any comments, remarks, or have any concerns or observations about Mr. Washington?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank y'all for being here. To the family, hey y'all. It's in the 2+ years that I've known Ronald. We have a funny little thing. We say we're cousins because we got the same last name and we're kind of built the same. But he is a very hard worker. He is very dedicated to his craft. He volunteers to do extra work whenever asked. But the most important thing I would say is family. We visit every Sunday, and every Sunday somebody from his family's here. Every Sunday you can count on the Washingtons to pull up about 3 or 4 tables and hang out together and fellowship and bond and play. And they're always usually the loudest people in the room. It's because they're laughing so much and enjoying one another. So for me, it's important that if we have an opportunity for one of our guys to go, that they have a good family support. And it is without doubt that I can say that he has an excellent family support. And I'm pretty sure Mama ain't gonna let him screw up again.
Thank you, Captain Washington.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ronald Washington,
Yes, sir.
you're a very impressive young man. But the one thing that impresses me most of all is your disciplinary record. You had 12 disciplinary write-ups in 12 years, but all 12 of those, and I'm thinking about class B write-ups, the serious write-ups you had in the first 3 years of incarceration. You've been housed at the state police barracks for almost 7 years with a zero tolerance for any shenanigans. And I'm not talking about a write-up. We're talking about any negative activity is not tolerated, and you would have been removed immediately. That impresses me more than anything that you've done. I have a recommendation, and I will share it with my fellow board members at the conclusion of this interview. Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rochelle. I don't see any other questions, so we'll hear from those who will be speaking in support. Could we first hear from Ms. Janetta Washington?
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello, my name is Janetta Washington, Ronald's mother. And I just want to say that I'm impressed with him and where he has come from. And Ronald is approved for today. I am behind him 100%. I would do anything and everything that I can to keep him on that straight and narrow.
Well, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And I have my son Leroy here, and he's just sitting aside of me.
All right. Yes. So next we want to hear from Harry Sims.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say that Ronald is the youngest of my mother's children, and his presence is very much missed. I pray for his pardon, and he always have and always will have my support, my full support, and I will help him whenever needed. I just want him to get home. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. And then we have Ms. Tina Washington.
Good morning. I'm Ronald's sister, and I just want to stress the fact that my family and I will be here for Ronald to support him in any and every way possible that we can. We're prepared to help him transition back into society, and he's not going to mess up again. I feel that in my heart. He's a different person today. And I've also been looking into NA and AA meetings that he can attend in the area if he's released to come live by me. He would be released in Sunset, Louisiana area. So thank you for allowing us to speak today.
Ma'am, thank you. And then we'll hear from the DA's office, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Brian Clark on behalf of the 22nd Judicial District Attorney's Office. My office is opposed to any pardon in this case. As noted in the letters from both of the victims in this case, they have suffered severe both mental and financial ramifications as a result of this crime. And furthermore, I'd like to point out that Mr. Washington's statement again to this board was that he did not physically harm anybody. This is obviously false. One of the victims was pistol whipped not once but twice during the commission of this crime, resulting in him having to have medical bills as well as injuries from that. For these reasons, the state would oppose any pardon in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. All right, Mr. Washington, for a point of clarification, you do have a good time release date in 2027, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we vote?
I appreciate y'all for giving me this opportunity to speak with y'all today and just be able to tell my story. And I do, and addressing y'all. I don't want to address anybody the wrong way, but I want to take this opportunity to really apologize to the victims involved for the crime that I committed in the way that I hurt them. That's not me. I want them to know that's not me. And I know that it doesn't mean much coming from me, but I just want them to know I apologize for the harm that I caused them. And that's all I have to say about that. I've been waiting to do that for years.
Glad you had the opportunity to do that today. We are ready to vote. Mr. Roche will be voting first.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Washington, based on your family support, you had 15 letters of support in your packet from family members, classmates, church members, and just friends who are in support of your early release. Based upon positive remarks from Captain Washington, almost 7 years at State Police Barracks with a zero tolerance for any misconduct, good program, excellent disciplinary record, good transition plan, excellent work evaluations. My recommendation is to recommend to the governor parole eligibility after serving 65% of your sentence, which is 13 years. That is my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mirabella.
My vote is likewise the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Freeman.
I concur for the same reason.
Mr. Jackson. I concur. And as do I. So you've received a unanimous vote. So you, on your behalf, will make that recommendation to the governor. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you to you all.
Captain Washington, that concludes our business at the barracks. We're going to sign out at 10:29. Thanks for helping.
Thank y'all.
So how do you feel about that? You know, I don't have any records to go over because he did plead guilty. It was interesting how the case starts talking about, you know, being in a nail salon, them not having the money to pay, him then saying, well, I'll go get the card, the nail salon saying no. Then all of a sudden it escalates. He pulls out his weapon, hits them, they get arrested. So all of this started over really what was just probably under like $20 or something. And he goes through his story of addiction, which is very common. He was hit over the head with a crowbar. This is happening during Hurricane Katrina. They back him to the hospital because he's losing so much blood. They give him all this stuff and he becomes completely dependent on it. He makes bad decisions because of it. The part that I do take a bit of grievance with is that in his statement, and this is where it's not clear to me, when did he write the statement? Did he write it in the commutation portion of the statement? But he then said it again, or he wrote it in the commutation part, and then that's what Mr. Brochet brought up, but that I didn't hurt anyone. And what's confusing to me about that is, I guess, when did he write that? Because it's like, how do you, his excuse was that he doesn't remember, which I believe. You know, you're taking that much Xanax, you're not going to remember. But wouldn't he have known after he took the plea deal? So it's like, it's one thing to not remember at the time, but then you would know what you took the plea deal for. So it almost, to me, seems like he's trying to change the facts of the case for his commutation hearing. And if that's what I picked up on, then I would just argue that that is concerning. But maybe I just misunderstood it. I can't. Outside of that, I'm really happy. This is one of those, great examples of rehabilitation. I'm a little surprised that they didn't kind of like mandate that he do AA and NA and all those things, only because they seem to do that with everyone else. Not that I think that should be the right path for him. Even the assistant DA showed up to keep him locked up. We know this guy, Ryan Clark. He's we have a hearing of him when he really kind of loses it at Miss Jackson because she insulted him around the Vietnam War. And maybe you've seen that hearing. It has one of the most views on this channel. He always does seem pretty angry, that assistant DA. I'm trying to see if we should do another hearing after this one. Let's see what we have that we need to cover here. I think I have a few lined up. But yeah, the addiction thing is real. He explained how he was coming off of it. I had a time in my life when I broke a collarbone playing football, and I was, I don't know, maybe 17. And this was, pretty much, in the time of when all this started happening, and they gave me Percocets. I think they gave me 2 months supply. So I was taking them as prescribed for 2 months. And then a collarbone break is pretty painful because, there's no cast. And anytime you sneeze, anytime you bang your hand, anytime you, try to take a shirt on or off, it hurts. So, it was nice to have this stuff. But I remember when it ran out, all of a sudden I had this like withdrawals, and I'm an introvert. So I didn't share it with anyone. I didn't tell anyone about it. I just kind of like kept it all inside. But for, I think about 3 nights, I would just sit in bed and shake and sweat and not sleep, and it was very painful. And that was my withdrawal experience. And I didn't really understand, like, it wasn't like I just did it. I just handled it. I just stopped taking the stuff. But if I had been around friends that were going through the same thing as me, or that had access to it and just like said, hey, here, take some, I probably would have, because it wasn't like I was even aware of like the whole addiction thing. It was more like, okay, I ran out, now I just have to go and deal with it. But if someone had made it very easy for me to make that uncomfortable feeling go away so that I can go back, so I could go to sleep and not go through all that pain, I probably would have taken them up on it. So much has to do with, luck about who you are around and how easy it is to access it. And so I was just lucky I was able to dodge that bullet. I do have friends that weren't able to, but and I did see them go through the struggles of addiction. Now, it might sound like I just contradicted myself that I don't have people around, but I guess it was people around me at the time. A few years later, I did create friendships with, or more people had been going through addiction and figured out how to get stuff. Okay, so I did find another hearing. I don't know what it's about, but we shall find out. I have a spreadsheet of hearings that we haven't done. And I believe that we hadn't done this one. And then I do a search on the DOC in my dashboard to confirm it's not there. But it's not a foolproof system. Sometimes I find myself rewatching and for some reason the search in YouTube didn't pull up the hearing. And it's quite frustrating. Hopefully that's not one of these cases when that is happening. And here we go.
Good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're at Madison Parish Detention Center. My name is Pearl Wise. To my left is Mr. Roche, and to my right is Mr. Freeman. With the staff at Madison Parish, please introduce yourself for the record.
Lieutenant Alfreda Jones. I'm the only one in here, ma'am, with him.
We thank you, Lieutenant Jones. At the appropriate time, we do want to hear from the institution as to how he's been doing and what he's been doing. So if you can find somebody, let us know. We'll ask for that at the appropriate time. And we thank you so much for accommodating us this morning.
Y'all so welcome. I hope y'all can hear a lot better than y'all can hear the other day. And I put him over in the same area I put the other guy the other day so that we can hear a little better.
Yeah, it's good. The sound is really good. So sir, give me your name and DOC number, please.
My name is Terry Dale Tillman, DOC number 81500.
Okay, sir. We've already introduced ourselves. Let me go and explain the process. I'm going to read some information to the record. Afterwards, I'm going to conduct an interview with you, and I'll be interviewing you first because your case was assigned to me. After we finish with our interview, we're going to ask the staff there in Madison to give us an update on how you've been doing and what you've been doing. You do have a visitor today. You have your grandfather, Mr. Contrarius Williams, and he will be speaking. He's here in support. We'll give Mr. Williams an opportunity to tell us whatever he wants us to know about you. And once all the testimony has been heard, you make the final statement. You tell us what you want us to know before we vote, and then we'll render our decision. And do you understand the process?
Yes, ma'am.
And let me read this information into the record. I know you've been through this before. Sorry, I'm trying to get down to it. It's not flawless. Okay, your name is Terry Dale Tilman. Your DOC number is 81500. You are listed as a 5th felony offender. The current offense is simple burglary, habitual offender, simple escape, type 1, and armed robbery. Your sentencing dates are August the 20th, 1990, and April the 29th of 2003. Your DOC time is listed at 29 years, 4 months, and 7 days. Your parole eligibility date reflects 4/1/2010. You have a good time date of July 4th of 2025. You have a full term date of October the 29th of 2028. Is that about right? Okay, good. Does that sound about right, sir?
Ms. Wise, I was wondering about the armed robbery and the
Yes, sir.
simple escape.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, that was committed in 1990, and I had served time for it, and I was on parole for that. And
Yes, sir.
my only charge that I'm currently serving time for now is the simple burglary. But
Okay.
I just want to clear it up because they had confused it one time, thought that I had committed the armed robbery in 2003, but I was already incarcerated. That was in 1990.
Okay.
Mr. Tilman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to differ with you. When you were revoked, you had 40 years left on your armed robbery. You are serving time right now for your armed robbery.
The parole time.
No, sir, you're still serving time on the armed robbery because when you were revoked in 2003, you were sentenced for the armed robbery for the remainder of the 40 years, 6 months, and 29 days.
Yes, sir, that's correct. That's correct.
All right, so we were notified classification of your concern, but we don't calculate time. So that's not the purpose of our hearing today. So let's shift of us meeting you today. You're listed as a 5th offender. How old are you today, sir?
69.
Okay, you're 69 years old. Of your 69 years of living, how long would you say you've been in prison?
Approximately 30 years.
30 of your 69 years in jail. And now on your current sentence of 2003, how long you been in jail on this 29-year sentence you're serving now?
I've been incarcerated now 23 years and 11 months.
23 years and 11 months now. You keep coming back to jail. What is it about jail you like?
Bad choices. I'll be honest, I just made bad choices.
Was drug and alcohol a part of your bad choices?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the drug and alcohol use.
Well, when I was younger and completed school, I played football in school, and once I had injured my ankles, and they gave me some pills for pain pills or whatever, and I just sort of like, I guess, like the feeling of them or whatever, and that's why I first started out to kind of like, deviate and got interested in painkillers, and from that point on, off and on, I started, using drugs or whatever, but that's where I actually, it actually began with pain.
Was it in high school when you said your ankle was injured? Were you in high school or college?
High school.
High school. So what are the illegal drugs that you turned to?
Well, I smoked marijuana, and the illegal drug that I turned to was heroin. And I started using methadone to try to curb the heroin use. And I was on.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And when I was arrested on this charge right here, I was going to a methadone program, Shreveport, behavioral clinic in Shreveport, Louisiana.
How long had you been going to that clinic?
I think it was something like approximately, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a year. It's been so long. I think it was maybe a year.
Okay. Was it helping?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
It just didn't prevent this crime though, huh?
Yeah, the crime was stupid. You know, it was real stupid, you know, and you know,
Were
I
you
don't
under
feel,
the influence? Were you under the influence of anything when you committed this stupid crime, in your words?
yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
under the
ma'am.
influence
I
of what?
was. I
Of
saw
what?
methadone.
I don't know, we supposed to say that out loud. You were under the influence of the treatment drug when you committed the crime.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yeah.
like I said, it was stupid what I did, you know, and I haven't told anybody this. Y'all be the first people that I'm telling this to. You know, I had went by a friend of mine's house and he was getting married. And he told me that he was supposed to be having a reception and he didn't have anything, you know, for his reception or whatever. And me being crazy or whatever, I wanted to try to see if I could help him, you know, help get some money or whatever, so he could have some stuff for his reception or whatever, some food and maybe drinks and stuff like that. And that's what I basically was doing, trying to help somebody. And it was stupid what I did.
You talking about the crime when you took the lady's purse at Walmart? That was the motivation for that crime?
No, ma'am, it was at the duck pond.
Okay, okay, the other one. At the duck pond?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That
That
one,
was
okay.
a
Okay.
burger, simple burger took place there.
Sure, I see it now. So what was the motivation for taking the purse at Walmart? Do you remember?
Oh, that was something for money, peer pressure, sitting up listening to some people, we need money or whatever, you know, and it was peer pressure. And I volunteered to call myself gonna volunteer to try to get a car to go and try to, you know, see if we could go and commit another crime or whatever. And I got caught.
Nobody in the group said, let's go look for a job. Nobody. Nobody in the group said, let's go look for a job, right? Nobody came up with that idea, huh?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Nobody. Okay. Let me put some things on the record, just for the record. In your case, we reach out to in every case, we reach out to the law enforcement community to get their opinion. There's opposition that's been expressed in the law enforcement community. I'm going to read to you what the DA said. The Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office opposes parole release for defendant Derryl D Tilman based on his extensive criminal history. Our office believes that he is a continuing danger to the community and should serve the entirety of his sentence. We oppose. What do you say to that? And this statement was received on January 30th of 2023. What do you say to that? Speak to that one.
You know, when I was in Caddo Parish, you know, the first 3.5 years, it took 3.5 years that I stayed in Caddo Parish before I was sentenced. And at that 3.5 years, I basically had learned my lesson before I had even got the time. The 3.5 years had almost just killed me, you know. And so after I got all this time, I was hoping that they would look at the fact that I had already done 3.5 years before I had even got the sentence. And as far as, you know, the district attorney, on July of 21, I had a motion in the court, and the DA, they opposed me getting an early release and told the district attorney told the judge, she said that if Mr. Tilman want to get an early release, that's what the parole board is there for. And I think he should go to the parole board. And I just want to say that I was sentenced to 24 years. And right now, 30 days from now, I have the 24 years in. And the only thing that I would have left is the parole time. But the 24 years, I have 24 years in next month. So, and as far as continuously committing crime, I'm 69 years old now. I have had 3 back surgeries in the past. My shoulders right now, I'm being treated right now for shoulder injuries. I had a slip and fall in 2020. I have basically recuperated from that all the way. And I'm just old now. I mean, I'm older, I'm wiser now, and I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to hurt anybody. And
Okay. What about your addiction? How you gonna stay clean and sober?
oh, I've been working on that. I've for the past 24 years, each institution that I've gone to, I have been a spiritual leader for all the institutions, and they have allowed me to create faith-based programs. I was intending to enclose a packet, and I've taught a lot of young men basic character building and things of that nature. And I have spoken strongly against drugs and used myself as an example. And prior to being incarcerated on this charge, I had put an application in for the Rutherford House in Shreveport, and it basically deals with, indeterminate kids and delinquent kids or whatever. And they called me to come to work 3 days after I had got arrested. And I've always wanted to work with kids or whatever. So for the past 24 years, I've been working with kids. They are kids, some, between the ages of 18 and 27 and things like that. And this right here was one of the, this package, what I'm holding up now, this is a leadership packet that I co-authored when I was at Winfield, and the Department of Corrections, they had, they stated that they would accept it as a bona fide faith-based program. And after they could get it into the system good, then they had closed down for ICE or the immigrants to come in. And so we didn't get a chance to, to do it. But what I would like to do is, if me and the other guy that offender that authored it, I would like to try to see if we could get it started and do volunteer work, for the prisons or whatever, and try to get this program off the ground, because a lot of kids.
I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing. For the record, one of your victims is unopposed, and one of your victims indicated to us that they are still having nightmares for what you did to them. And there's nothing you can do about it, but I just wanted you to be aware of that, of the impact of your crime. Tell me about write-ups. Have you had any write-ups over these almost 24 years, 23 years?
Yes, ma'am. I had one write-up in 2013. It was a defiance write-up that I was complaining about my window being broken, and it was raining. When it rained, it used to rain on me. And what I did was I told the major about it, and it was supposed to rain that night, and I told him that I was going to get wet or whatever. And so he and I, we had a kind of like a disagreement, and he told me to let him do his job. And so, and I'm being honest, I told him that he wasn't doing his job, because every time I asked him to fix it, I get rained on or whatever, but nobody fixed it. So he wrote me up for saying that I was defiant.
Okay. Okay, I got that. I get that picture.
I've had 2 write-ups since I've been incarcerated, 24 years, just 2 write-ups.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, Ms. Wise.
Okay.
Mr. Tilman.
Yes, sir.
I want to correct my statement. You're 69 years old, but I'm just a little older than you, and my eyesight is not what it used to be. When you were revoked, you had 4 years, 6 months, and 29 days left on your sentence. And you got 9 months and 8 days for the simple escape. And then you got 24 years for the simple burglary. That 24 years plus 4 years, 6 months, 29 days, and 9 months, that gives you the 29-year, 4-month, and 7-day sentence. You are finished with all of your sentences except the simple burglary. And you were correct. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Roche, for clearing that up. All right, now we can hear from your grandson. I'm so sorry. I said grandfather last time. Mr. Williams, would you unmute your mouth and mic and tell us what you want us to know? We can't hear you.
Grandson. Can you hear me now?
Grandson. Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Oh, yes. So yeah, you said you want me to tell you some things about my grandfather. The honest truth is, I really don't know. I haven't had time to meet my grandfather because he's been gone so long. But in the past 6 months, I lost my great grandmother, which is his mother, and my grandmother, which is his wife. So he's like the last that I got left, and I would like to, for his last few years, to get to know him, and for him to get to know me, and also his grandkids, well, great grandkids. He has like 4 great granddaughters, and I would like for him to know them as well. Like, I know of my grandfather, I have one core memory of him, that he loved fishing, and that's where I get my love for fishing from. Granted, I don't catch much, but with his release, he could teach me the tricks of the trade, and I really would wish to have him home pretty soon here, and he could meet his granddaughters like that he's never seen. But in fact, there's one of them right here, right, bad one. But that's your granddad. She's never met him. He's never saw her. But I would like for him to come home soon just so he could get to know, his granddaughters and give them that leadership that he has so great.
Oh, she's so great. Are there any other kids there in the house with y'all?
Yes, I actually have a 3-month-old. She sleep right now. When they sleep, you let them sleep.
Oh, all right. I just wanted him to have an opportunity to see his family, but anybody else there that he could see. That he could see. Good. All right, precious.
Say bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for participating, sir. It's important that we hear from family. It's really important. Thank
you. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Tilman, what is your plan?
I'm right here.
We can hear from you, and then I have one final question for him. What do you want us to know about how has he been doing? What has he been doing? Lieutenant Jones?
Oh, well, I've been over here ever since February, but I have known him the previous time I have been over here. He's very respectful. He seems like he got a head on his shoulder. He tries to talk to the younger generation that's coming in. He trying to let them know that, yes, I have made a mistake, but I tried to improve myself. And he tried to give him a lot of encouragement. And I sit down and talk to him a lot, and he always admits to the things that he has done wrong. And there's a lot of things that he want to try to help to change the society out there once he does get out. And inside here, he also try to teach them, hey, y'all got to, not once you done made a mistake, don't wallow in your mistakes like I did when I first came in. So he's very, I think at this time, I think he kind of learned a lesson. He lost some family members that tried to hang on for him for a long time. Like the grandson talks about his mom. He just spoke of his mom this morning. And he was saying that she tried to hold on as long as she could for him and his wife, and she did too. And I think those losses in his life has really made him see what's really going on, and things does happen. So I think that it would be nice to try to give him a chance. He hadn't been there. I understand that he has had a lot of things he had done before. But if we don't, as society, don't try to give them a chance, we're going to have a lot of them that are going to fail. We have to at least give them a chance.
All right, Lieutenant Jones, thank you for your input. It's valuable to our decision making. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
All right. Mr. Terry, I had one question before. What is your transition plan if you're successful today?
When you say transition plan, you mean when like if I was to be released or my
Yes,
goal?
sir. Where would you live and how would you support yourself? Yes, sir.
I have so many things that I really want to do. When I was going to college when this happened.
No, sir. I just guess your immediate release. Where would you live and how would you support yourself?
Okay, my mother, she died back in December. So the family told me that I would be able to get my mother's house to live in.
Okay.
And my wife, she died 49 days after my mother
I'm sorry for your loss, sir. So sorry for your loss.
And
So probably Social Security to be a source of income for you?
That's what she asked you, is your social security gonna be?
no, ma'am. I was told, I can't think of, one time I was interviewed back in 2021. I think it was a Mr. Keith, I can't remember his whole name, but he had told me that, you know, I could draw my wife's social security in her retirement. And the family had said that they wanted to make sure that I draw it or whatever. But I have to go to vocational rehab and let the vocational rehab make an assessment of where I could work it because of my disability. And I was gonna go and try to get my SSI started as well.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to know what you thought about. Okay, Dr. Any other things you want to say before we vote? Are you ready for us to go ahead and vote? You ready
Yes,
for us to
ma'am.
go ahead and
I'd like
vote?
to say this right here, that I wanted to say this right here. I had just explained to Ms. Jones about you know, these different school shootings and things. I think I have a solution for it. And I believe that if the parole board would parole maybe some nonviolent offenders and vet them real good and place them on the perimeters of schools and let us, you know, make sure that an active shooter don't get in, give us some walkie-talkies, because we could probably basically recognize if somebody have some suspicious activity or whatever, because there's a lot of guys that's in here, they just laying around and they not doing anything. And they just simply drug offenders. And we do have people that are at work release, like at Union Parish, and they are working at schools. And so the people shouldn't mind, you know, other inmates just looking out to make sure people don't breach the perimeter and get into a school to, you know, basically do it. And that was one of the things that I wanted to try to see if, you know, if we could get started, you know, if I was released or whatever, and it'll stop bullying, you know, to stop bullying. If somebody's selling kids drugs or whatever on the school property, we could intervene and have a free person come and, you know, check them out or whatever and find out what is their business or whatever, you know. And I wanted to try to see if I could get something started like that, you know, and get with, you know, get with some of the representatives or whatever and see if they would try to see if they could arrange something like that, you know.
All
And
right,
you know, I just want to
sir.
do something positive. I want to do something positive before I die, you know.
I want to stop you there because we got so many other hearings.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel you. I really feel
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, I will vote first because your case was assigned to me. Mr. Terry, when I read your stuff last night, I tell you, I didn't know what I was going to do with you. You presented well today, and your grandson was really like a cherry on top. So my vote is to grant, and also Lieutenant Jones. You really need to thank Lieutenant Jones, at least for me. Her statement was very impactful for me because she's lived with you a lot longer than longer than we have just meeting you here. So my vote is to grant because of your positive institutional record, the institutional comments, your family support from your grandson. As special conditions, I do want you to do the community service, like you said. I agree with the service. And I want you to look up this. I want to make note of the Frederick Douglass Project. Look that up. And I just heard it one day this week, and it's a very good thing. It's something that you probably could be a part of.
Yes, ma'am.
Another condition, I want you to undergo a substance abuse evaluation when you are released and follow that. And then also enroll in CR because you got brief issues you got to deal with, and CR will be one of the ways that you can address all of that at least 3 times a week. Go to your CR. That's my vote. Mr. Freeman.
I concur with Ms. White. Great comments from the institutional side and a great disciplinary record from your side. So my also to grant with the same conditions as Ms. White.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gilmore, based upon the positive remarks from the staff. You've served the majority of the judge's sentence. Good family support. Our vote is to grant your request. You have a curfew. These are added conditions. You'll have a curfew from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. You must attend NAAA meetings at least 3 times a week. You are a drug addict and you need to monitor that situation on a weekly basis. I want you to attend NAAA meetings. And I also want you to do community service at least 4 hours a month.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. So you get all this in writing, sir, but your
Yes,
parole has been granted today. Best
Yes,
wishes to
ma'am.
you, sir. I look forward to reading articles about what you're doing in the community.
You'll see. I won't let y'all down.
All right,
Thank
take care. All right, thank you. And thank you to Madison Parish for accommodating us so well.
She just stepped out.
You make sure you appreciate Lieutenant Jones because she brought it home for you today. Let her
Yes,
know
ma'am.
the point. I want to commend her for her input. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
So adjourned at Madison Parish.
Thank y'all. Freeman. Approach. Go.
Okay, let's unpack that. How do you feel about it? I feel good. It just breaks. Man, it breaks one's heart. You see, he literally spent his entire life, much of his life, locked up. And yeah, when Miss Wise said your grandson's here, I was confused. I'm like, look at what's going on. Okay. I mean, when your grandfather is here. His mother passed away while he was locked up. His wife passed away while he was locked up. He has his grandson here with his great-granddaughter that has never met him. And he's really got a life of just petty crime. You know, going back to his friends getting married. He was going to go try to get some drinks and food and doing something silly. And then the duck pond, which I actually do have the transcripts for. And I'll put a link in the description. We don't need to go through it. I'll just give you the rundown. And it sucks because it was June 6, 1999. And grandparents went and took their grandkids to the duck pond to feed the ducks. You know, and that's just should be the most innocent, drama-free experience that we all deserve to have. And they were feeding the ducks. He showed up with a fishing rod, went to the pond. Really, he had no intention of fishing. He broke into the car. There was a witness down the road who saw it happening, called the police. He then stole the car, and police showed up while he stole the car, and he drove away. And I think that's what caused his simple escape charge. And they ended up getting him. And I don't know if this is the victims that were opposed to his release that still have nightmares or not. But grandparents taking their grandkids to the duck pond and then to have the car stolen, it's, you know, it's like that stuff just can't be happening, you know. From his perspective, he didn't know who the car belonged to, and he just stole it and wanted to take some stuff, right? But he had 4 years left on his previous probation, and then, you know, but he's just like, he was at that age, just too old to be doing stuff like that, you know? But he's 69 years old now. I also don't know when Miss Wise said, you're not supposed to say that out loud with the methadone. What's the reason about not saying that out loud? I wasn't sure what that means. Anyone know? Also, it was funny when Miss Wise said, I've actually thought she did well here. in this interview. I enjoyed it. She said, no one said, let's go get a job. No one said, let's go get a job. She's like, no, you're not going to get a job. Let's keep breaking into things. Oh, man. We could do one more hearing after this also, by the way. We'll do one more. But it's like half an hour long. His idea about that was I know he means well, but can you imagine a world where oh my gosh, can you imagine the uproar if somehow something like that passed? They're like, in Louisiana, they just passed a bill that will allow inmates to stand at the border and protect our children's schools. This bill was recently passed and is meant to help prevent bullying and school, and it's like, man, yeah, I know your intentions are well, but if you surrounded our prisons with inmates, that would just be the next level of crazy. But Ms. Wise did bring up a program, which I'll also drop the link in there, which looks really cool. I think it looks really cool. And here it is. It's not a program. It is the project that she said, the Frederick Douglass Project. So what it is, in a nutshell, their mission is to connect non-inmates with inmates so that I guess people can understand. Let's just read it from the mission. It is to Frederick Douglass Project facilitates structured meetings and respectful conversation between members of free society and prisoners so that they can learn from each other, form powerful human connections, and transform both their lives and their society at large. And I think that is really cool. I think that is really, really cool. And I'll put the link in the description too. Join us. And with that, let's jump into the next hearing. Finger. Okay. Share this tab, put the volume up. Make sure the settings are correct. 720. Play, open. It's really a whole process. And here we go.
All right, good morning. Mr. Singer, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Excuse me, ma'am?
Introduce yourself. Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Malt Singer, 331625, ma'am.
Right, and counsel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Amy Myers. I'm a staff attorney with Louisiana Parole Project on behalf of Mark Singer. Thank you.
Mr. Singer, let me just acknowledge the folks who are here in support today. We have Carrie Myers with the Parole Project, Norris Henderson with R72, and your family here with you, Ms. McInnes. Also on Zoom is Con Meads and Edward Johnson. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record, Mr. Singer, and then Mrs. Wise will take the lead on the interview process with. So, Mr. Singer, you're classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a life sentence for a second-degree murder conviction in 1993 in Queens Parish. Is that information correct, Mr. Singer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You answer Mrs. Wise, please.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
How's it going?
I'm all right.
Good. Just wanted you to breathe. You've been here before. Your last hearing was in August of 2020. Is that correct? And you were denied. You
Yes,
did
ma'am.
not, your DB, you had a very poor disciplinary record at that time. I think it's one of the, okay. Then you were granted a rehear on January the 12th of 23, and so now we're here. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Call out for the record how long you've served on this life sentence.
This month will make 31 years, ma'am.
1 year this month, okay. And how old are you today?
I'm 47, ma'am.
47. So that means that you were 16 when you started this sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey,
I was arrested.
sir.
I was 16 when I was arrested.
Tell us a little bit about that 16-year-old that got arrested.
Ma'am, at the time, I could say I was really immature. I was lacking in a lot of areas. Education being one. I was lacking guidance and awareness. And eventually my surroundings, I adapted to my surroundings. And before long, I went astray.
Tell us a little bit about your offense, the reason you got a life sentence. What do you remember?
Ma'am, I remember my co-defendant, Joseph Hampton, and Mr. Derryl Robinson had a physical altercation in a house party that we attended. I remember our attitudes and aggression was still high the following day, where it continued. Only this time, weapons were involved. Me, myself, still angry at the situation with the mind state I was in at the time. I possessed a weapon and I fired shots at Mr. Robinson and killed him. Something I'm very regretful for. And I'm here today to accept full responsibility.
I appreciate that. Were you under the influence of anything on that day? Were you using anything?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Sober.
Yes, ma'am. I never done any drugs, ma'am.
So the beef wasn't with you, you were just with your friend, right?
Actually, yes, ma'am.
With the other guy, okay. All right, let's fast forward today. Call out for the record some of the programs you had an opportunity to take that had an impact.
Recently or?
Period. Whichever one that helped you. That had an impact on you.
I believe that CPR has really helped me a lot. There was once upon a time where I didn't really care much for people, being young coming through the system. And I had to like keep that macho type image, and Karen basically was considered to be weak. But CPR opened all this up for me to have compassion for one's life and to save them. I've been dealing with CPR over 20 years now, where I facilitate classes before leaving Angola State Penitentiary. I would teach offender population how to identify medical emergencies and how to assist up until vast care arrive. Me being on the CPR team, we act as an in-between, hands on hand with security to respond to medical emergencies. And I've been doing that a long period of time.
Yeah, I read your record there. You okay. We'll talk about that later. What other programs you taken to help you? Anything else that you went through?
It was several programs. One for sure was Thinking for a Change, where I learned how to correct my thinking errors and behaviors. Dealing with Thinking for a Change,
I learned the tools and the skills pertaining to self-changing skills. I learned social skills, and I learned about problem-solving skills. When applying them to thinking for a change, I got to just stay in control of my thinking as well as my feelings versus not and getting me into trouble. Through my social skills while taking thinking for a change, I learned how to better communicate with people, was staying on a positive note. And with my problem solving skills, I know how to identify my situation and the consequences that I'm facing before interacting or intervening in the negative thoughts. So that course there helped me a lot. I participated in substance abuse awareness where they taught a transaction analysis class. During this transaction analysis class, it helped me to better understand self as well as the people who I come in communication with by simply identifying certain ego states where I was able to learn how to deal with the adult ego state, parent ego state, as well as the child ego state. When identifying the adult ego state.
Stop you there. Okay. I'm convinced you paid attention. I am convinced. I'm gonna go ahead and stop you there. I said, I am convinced that the money was well spent on teaching you. And I do want to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what I.
She said that's a good answer. She had.
I'm sorry.
You didn't hear me. I said, I'm gonna stop you there because, yes, sir. I just wanted to see, it's important to me that you get something out of the classes, and you demonstrated to me that you have gotten something out of the classes. So that's what's important, not that you take them, but that they make a difference, and I see you did. I do want to say for the record and the information that we got that you are credited with saving 5 lives with your CPR skills. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
2015, 2020, and 2 in 21 and 2 in 22. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got your high set in 1998. Do you have any other education besides your high set?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I received certification as a BLS instructor, as well as certification as an applicator.
As a what?
An applicator dealing with pesticide.
Oh, great. Okay, so I did see that. Okay, great. Yes, sir. I saw that. And when was your last write-up?
Ma'am, my last write-up was in 2018.
Now, how many have you had in its 31 years total?
I believe 37.
That's what I'm. Yes, sir. That's what I'm showing as well. Tell us about your transition plan if you're successful today.
Ma'am, if successful, I will be going into the care of the parole project that has a transitioning team concerning my housing, who will be apparently a peer mentor to help me with my transition, as well as finishing that, I will be in the care of my aunt, who will also be helping me and assisting me, as well as my sister as well.
I see that you're enrolled in the victim impact class and you're scheduled to graduate in August of 23. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you for answering my questions. Warden, what can you share with us about this young man?
I'll be brief. I know a couple people want to talk. The only thing I can say is, he's been doing well. He's a mentor. I'd like to see him finish that victim impact course, as well as help us get a few more of these programs started. We're starting a few more programs in transition where he's actually housed at, and in Fox 5 for young adult program. So I'd like his help to get that off the ground, as well as finish that victim impact.
Thank you, Warden. I appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll hear from the folks who want to speak. First, we'd like to hear from President Ms. McKinnis, who's there with you. Ms. McKinnis?
Ms. McKinnis is on Zoom, Mrs. Wise.
Okay.
I believe she's on Zoom.
Is she on the DOC?
Yeah, I believe she. Okay, she logged out of trouble.
She's trying to log back in, so we'll move on. How about Mr. Hundley with the Parole Project?
Thank you, Andrew Hundley with Louisiana Parole Project, here to confirm for the board that Mark has been a client of our organization now for several years, and we look forward to providing him reentry support if he's giving the opportunity to release today. As you're aware, our organization has provided reentry support to over 100 juvenile lifers who've come home over the last several years. We feel like since Mark's last parole hearing, he's done everything that's been asked of him, and he's shown maturity and growth and continues to go in that direction. If he's released, we will provide him that reentry support, which includes a mental health and substance abuse evaluation. Immediately upon release, he'll have access to our staff social worker and a staff of reentry specialists who for a minimum of 1 year will provide him case management services. I must say that I've known Mark before I started thinking about it about 20 years. Mark was Louisiana Institutional Boxing Association champion. Way back, I started thinking to myself, it's crazy to think 20 plus years ago, I got to know Mark through boxing. And I'd like to believe that we're still young men, but whenever you go to talking about, we met each other 20 years ago, I guess we're getting a little bit older. At the time, he was a lightweight and a light welterweight. And I think those days are far past, but just as he was tenacious and dedicated as a boxing champion, I know that he has the commitment to see the course through, and we're going to be happy to help him with his reentry if the board sees fit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Henderson.
Good morning. Sorry, we had a little power outage right there and lost me. Yeah. I caught the tail end of Andrew speaking, and Andrew is kind of like attesting to some of the same stuff that I would say about Mark. I've been knowing Mark since it's the whole 31 years he's been incarcerated. Like Andrew say, he was our kind of like lightweight champ for years. So he has a lot of talent. I was one of the people who initially trained Mark to be a CPR instructor. And I'm really impressed with the transformation from the last hearing to this hearing. Just seeing really how Mark really took heed to what was instructed of him to go and do. And I think Mark has done everything that this board had asked him to go and do to reconcile with his behavior. Not necessarily, can't change the events of what happened 31 years ago, but to make some amends about how he was conducting himself over the last couple of years. And I think Mark has done that. So I would ask this board that when it gets ready to vote, that they vote to grant Mark his parole. Our organization is here in the city willing to provide wraparound services for Mark and to help him navigate this terrain. One of the challenges for folks like Mark, he was 16 years old, and the whole world has changed from this 16-year-old kid. And because of our organization, we are made up of former incarcerated folks who can help him navigate how to interact within the community to make himself a productive citizen. So I would ask this board to, when the time comes, to grant Mark parole. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. McKinnis, is she back with us?
Oh,
I'm not sure. The lady who's there, does she want to speak?
yes.
Go ahead, man. Tell us your name and your relationship to Mr. Singer.
How you doing? Good morning.
Morning.
How y'all doing today? My name is Sandra Dorsey. I'm his little sister. I just want to express my deepest condolences to the victim's family. First of all, your thoughts and is in my prayers. I'm very nervous right now. I watched my brother in the system for a long time. We lost both our parents. And while my brother was in jail, my brother had grown a lot. Talking to him on the phone, expressing my breast cancer situation, that I overcome that. He prayed with me, stuff like that, and my help with my children growing up now, and we will definitely have his back and support him coming home. Have a new grandbaby on the way, so he has nieces and nephews that's really gonna have his back. And I'm sorry if I'm lying, but thank you. I wish y'all give my brother a second chance.
Thank you for being. Appreciate hearing from you. All right, Mr. Singer, is there anything you'd like to say to the panel before we turn it over to Ms. Myers?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to express my deepest remorse and sympathies for Mr. Robinson's family, loved ones, and friends. I understand that the crime that I committed against them caused a lot of pain and suffering. But I am here today accepting full responsibility for my actions. And this is something that I probably couldn't do when I was a juvenile due to the mental state I was in at the time. But I know I was wrong, deeply regretful for what I've done. And since then, I made the necessary changes that was needed to make concerning my behavior patterns and my thinking patterns. I also would like to express my apologies to my family for putting them through this whole situation as well. And last but not least, I would like to thank you all for having me here today, for giving me the second chance. I would also like to thank my supporting staffs. And last but not least, I would like to express to you women, if given a chance, I can make a difference. Thank you.
Ms. Myers?
Thank you, ma'am. If granted parole today, Mark will be greeted by a host of formerly incarcerated community leaders that have made this honorable committee proud of their decision to release him from prison. The company we keep really does matter, and Mark keeps excellent company. Not many of us can say that we've saved a life, but Mark has saved at least 5 lives over the last period of time in prison. I hear that the warden would like to have Mark's help in setting up more programs, and that you would like to see Mark complete victim impact. Mark has already completed the letter writing portion of that program, where he has written a letter to the victims. He has also spent a lot of time reflecting. As you can see today, he expresses genuine remorse, and we do not have strong victim opposition in this case for whatever reasons. Not to say that the victims were not terribly affected by the senseless crime that Mark committed. Mark was just 16 years old when he committed this crime, and our legislature acknowledges that juveniles have a huge capacity for change, and Mark exemplifies what is possible for juveniles. He's got outstanding achievements, and he's been a community leader in the prison, and he will bring that back to the community if granted parole today. He's had many ups and downs over 3 decades, but he's now got the skills, morals, and transformation necessary for release. The time to release Mark really is now. He's joined by his friends, family, and the Louisiana Parole Project in respectfully requesting that you grant him immediate release under any conditions that you deem necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, Mr. Singer, it was a pleasure meeting with you today. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. I just want to commend you on how you prepared yourself. You've done an excellent job. You did all the work. Just good to see it. I had the opportunity to vote for you last time. I think I voted Grant last time. And I am honored to be able to vote Grant again this time. Your outstanding institutional record, the warden's comments, your good programs, and your excellent transition plan. That's grant is to the Louisiana Parole Project for a period of time that deem appropriate. Take it slow, stay as long as you need to. And want you to do community service to begin 6 months after release at 7 hours a month. You got BLS skills, you got mentoring skills, so however you want to do it. And that 7 hours includes your preparation time. And I grant is conditional after you complete the was August of 23 when you complete the victim impact and work with the young adult program, the 18 to 22-year-old award when you assistance in. So take your time and sit on the front row and really absorb it. Best wishes to, that's my vote. I'm only one vote.
Thank you have a good job over the last number of years of your incarceration. My vote likewise is to grant.
Mr. Singer, I do agree. My vote also is to grant under the same conditions stipulated by Mrs. Wise. We wish you well. Good luck to you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, lady.
Warren, that concludes our business at your facility. We're going to sign off. It's 10:15. Thanks for helping us out today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, let's unpack this. What we're going to do in this unpacking is we'll take a look at his crime. We're also going to take a look at Andrew Hundley's crime. As mentioned, Andrew Hundley had served time with him. He was talking about serving time with him. And I think now's a good time to bring up what he had done and then have some dialogue around that. So first with the crime, completely senseless, completely ridiculous, and ironically that he then became a star boxer, it just makes it even more absurd. But in 1992, Gwendolyn Bannister hosted an outdoor party for her young son. Anthony Garrison was the disc jockey and Derryl Robinson the victim. So this is his co-defendants. And thank you, Richard, for sending this to me. It's a big help when Richard sends it because I get it in an email. I'm able to search it and pull it. It saves me a lot of time. And he often finds things that I wouldn't easily find. Okay, so the victim, and they helped remove the equipment from the porch of the apartment building. Bannister testified that the defendant, known as Chim Chim, was with Mark Singer. Bannister heard Singer say, "He knocked you out the night before. He's walking around looking pretty and you're not. You're going to let him go like that?" Bannister did not hear whether the defendant responded. So we have our man here, Singer, really instigating it. He's walking around all pretty and you're not. About 11 p.m., Bannister, a female friend, and a young child were on the porch with Garrison and Robinson as they began removing the equipment. Bannister heard fire, looked up and saw Singer firing a large weapon. So Singer had what turns out to be an assault rifle. She ran to protect the child, and testified that she saw the defendant on the sidewalk shooting a small gun towards the porch. Bannister said that the victim saw the defendant, so that was Singer's co-defendant. So they had two of them were shooting weapons. Told her he had been shot. She said no one on the porch was armed. Garrison testified that earlier this evening he saw the defendant and the victim shake hands twice, apparently to reconcile after the fist fight they had the previous night. So they had a fight, they got over it. This is what kids do. Remember, he's 16 years old. Garrison said the victim told him that the matter was squashed. Garrison testified that just before the shooting, he saw 4 or 5 armed men in the alley across the courtyard. He recognized the defendant Chim Chim, Singer, and a man known as Derryl. Singer was carrying the assault rifle and the defendant a handgun. Garrison urged Robinson to leave, but Robinson refused. Gunfire erupted and Garrison hid behind a speaker. He saw fire coming from Singer's rifle, but he did not see the defendant. Bannister and Garrison identified defendant in a lineup. Detective said the defendant waived his rights and made a statement. Singer wanted to fight the victim, but the defendant told him the matter was squashed. Singer retrieved an assault rifle from the grass, like it was just sitting on the grass. It must have brought it there. The pathologist performed the autopsy and said they couldn't determine the type of gun that killed it. How do you not know? That's weird. One is probably a 5.56 round. The other is a much smaller round. How do you not? That doesn't make any sense to me. Is that possible? Someone in the audience tell me, is that possible? Or is that just lazy? And then he was sentenced to life at 16 years old. You know, oh wait, here it is. Let's see when the shooting. Defendant with the handgun just before he ran to the porch repeatedly. The 44 caliber bullet, that would be the handgun. I didn't even know people were walking around with those type of weapons in 1993. I guess I'm naive. I know about the 1993 Los Angeles bank robbery with all of those crazy, I think it was 93, something like that, with those 2 assault rifles. But I thought that was more like a unique situation. So, yeah. So he was 16 years old. They get into fisticuffs, but their egos hurt. Singer goes them on. It's just crazy. It's just useless. It's just such a waste of life, right? Now we have to go and see, you know, and interesting, the victims didn't come up here and speak. They didn't, you know, we didn't hear them say anything. There's no, so like in all those sense of the matters, it just doesn't make it like, you know, heart-wrenching or gut-wrenching. He's been locked up for 31 years. He's done really well. And oh, the other thing I wanted to bring up, 5 lives with doing CPR. This isn't the first time I've heard it. I've heard I think someone came on with more than 10 lives saved. And it brings up a question. One is, how is that possible? Like, how is it possible that so many people need CPR? And I mean, 5, and we keep hearing it. People who take the CPR class are saving lives. 5 lives is an incredible amount. So one, is it just a product of people being locked up in a tiny space together that gives an opportunity to, if you know CPR, to just see people end up in a situation where they need the CPR, or are the numbers skewed in some weird way? or a mix of in between. I don't know. It just seems, I mean, I guess if you have a lot of really old, but so then were people just dropping dead before like inmates were learning CPR? I don't, it's just interesting to me. I'm curious to know the facts. So now let's go into Andrew Hundley. And this is where we can have the debate, because Andrew Hundley brings up, it's fascinating in the sense that you could, I think, draw some parallel to Aiden Fucci, who Aiden, if you know, 14 years old, killed his girlfriend. They called it the cheerleader murder trial. At first, I was really pissed off whenever they called it cheerleader murder trial, because I'm like, what are you branding her as a cheerleader? It's like sensational, and it always bothered me. But then I saw the eulogy that her mother gave, and her mother focused the eulogy around her daughter being a cheerleader and how much of a passion it was for her daughter. And so I changed my perspective, because it seemed that was something that was just a huge part of her identity. But I digress. So Andrew Hundley was sentenced life without parole at the age of 15. Now, when he got out, so he was one of the first of more than 200 people in Louisiana who secured their release under the landmark Supreme Court ruling, which basically said it was unconstitutional to lock someone up under that age for life. And that's why this wasn't a commutation hearing, by the way, and just a parole hearing that we just saw. And it says here that in 1997 he was 15 and he killed another teen, right? But it wasn't so simple as that. Now, you give him all the props in the world. He got out of prison. He's changed his life around. He's focused on helping other 16-year-old inmates and all of that. But what he did here is, and I'll include this in the description as well, here is his court docket. In the early morning hours of July 23, 1997, the partially burned body of 14-year-old Terry Petrie was found behind a store in Louisiana. Yep. At the request of the police department, he was brought in for questioning by the police with his family. And he waived his rights and he confessed. He confessed to hitting her numerous times in the head with a piece of metal. Then he admitted to revisiting the site 3 times and then setting her body on fire. Now, he set her body on fire to try to hide the fingerprints. And I believe, I don't know if it says it here, but he had done it because he wanted to be with her and she rejected him. And what's interesting about this to me is, you know, we look at the Aiden Fucci case and there's no way he's getting out. There's just no way. He's going to be in there for life. But, you know, I think people would have felt the same exact way about Andrew Hundley at the time. Now, we don't, you know, with Aiden Fucci, we seem to have so much information on him where he seems to be a fully blown clinical, antisocial, you know, sociopath type of thing. And maybe that's the mitigating circumstance. But who knows? If they would have interviewed Andrew Hundley at the time, maybe it would have come off the same way. So just saying that it's and I'm not, you know, we look at Andrew Hundley now, I look at him now and I say it's great that he's out. You know, he's not, you know, but it's just, I don't know, it's worth a dialogue on this. And if we're doing a live stream, maybe we can jump into that. I'm thinking of maybe doing this like a live stream over, but we'll figure it out. If not, we'll just engage this question in the comment section. I think it's fascinating stuff. At 16, we all do insanely dumb things. I know I could have done things at 16 that would have gotten me locked up for some time. And I remember going through the thinking process of it and just not doing it. But I mean, I remember I had a pellet rifle and there was like a beef and I thought I would go in a public parking lot in broad daylight and pull it out. And, you know, you're thinking at that age, like, but easily a police officer could have come by and shot me because they thought it was a real gun, you know, or I could have shot it and hit someone in the eye and then, you know, you get locked up and things happen. And I don't know, people do stupid things when they're 16, like really stupid things, like ride a motorcycle 120 miles an hour, you know? But it is totally different. It's like another level when you knock someone over the head and kill them and burn their body, or when you pull out an assault rifle and just start shooting into a crowd. Like, it's just, that's a whole different level of stupid. Yeah, I'll include all these links in the description. And love to have the dialogue. If someone gets locked up for doing something at 16, should they be locked up forever? I think the question comes down to like what they say a lot. Are they a threat to society? Have they served enough time for retribution? Have they been rehabilitated? I mean, if you check all the right boxes, then at a certain point, you would say it's. Now, there are certain people that should never, ever, 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 ever be let free. But it makes you wonder if one day some of the worst criminals that we've seen today would be getting let free. Anyways, with that, I'll let you go.